Backlash follows Museveni's address on Dr. Kizza Besigye. A massive wave of public skepticism and anger has erupted following Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni's latest leadership address on national issues on July the 4th, 2026. Local broadcaster NBS Television shared a quote from the president's speech questioning opposition leader Dr. Kizza Besigye's legal strategy. President Museveni said, "Why would this great Democrat and human rights fighter, Dr. Kizza Besigye, spend so many calories on refusing to go to trial where he would have the opportunity to prove his innocence and expose the undemocratic behavior of Museveni and his family?"
Take the case of Besigye, Dr. Besigye. He was arrested on the 17th of November 2024. It is now almost 2 years. All this time, however, he has been refusing the trial, misusing the legal system. Why would this great Democrat and human rights fighter spend so many calories on refusing to come to trial where he has got opportunity to prove his innocence and expose the undemocratic behavior of the dictatorship of Museveni and his family? What is the problem? Because the dictatorship of Museveni and his family is imprisoning Besigye wrongly. Come to the court and expose it. Why do you spend so much time avoiding court? Second question, why should the legal system for so long allow an accused person to just refuse to be tried? Somebody who is accused says, "I don't want to be tried," and he's not tried. Is that a good system or what? How can somebody who is accused say, "I don't want to be tried," and 2 years is not tried? This allowing of impunity to continue for so long is responsible for the culture of mob justice. Before you talk about the security forces, talk about the population. Why do the population take the law in their own hands? Why? Why do the population take the law in their own hands? The population suspects that the police and the judiciary may not hold the criminal accountable, hence the mob justice, which is unfortunate.
Looking at the key responses and counter-arguments, the presidential commentary immediately triggered a flurry of sharp corrections and criticism from citizens, legal minds, and political observers online. Multiple respondents pointed out that the state itself has severely crippled Dr. Besigye's legal defense team, rendering the president's call to go to trial hypocritical. Lawrence T. noted that imagine such from a president. His lead lawyers, Martha Karua, was denied entry into Uganda. Another Lukwago areas was abducted and charged with misprision of treason, and now it's Besigye who is refusing trial. Cut the crap. Lawyer, UG lawyer echoed these claims, said probably this Museveni doesn't even know that Besigye's lawyers in Lukwago and Karua were detained and deported respectively. Sir Opado summarized the dilemma concisely, stating, you deported one of his lawyer and arrested the other, but you still expect him to go for trial. Or Mugabe wrote, Museveni's weakness is to think of all of us are foolish. Now why has the state stepped Dr. Besigye's lawyers for think can prove their case against KB? Let Museveni and his members, for us who have the spirit of truth, know that he's about to say he does something which is a little bit difficult to read. There are people who went on clarification on burden of proof. Legal commentators also challenged the president's fundamental understanding of how criminal law operates. Kajwara Christopher stated, the burden of proof in criminal cases lies on the state, and the standard of proof is beyond reasonable doubt. Therefore, Dr. Besigye has nothing to prove in court, but it's the duty of the state to prove a case against him beyond a reasonable doubt. Some people went on bringing allegations of excessive illicit and judicial control. Citizens widely expressed that the outcomes of political trials under the current administration are predetermined. Shadrach Katumba Sabina remarked that this president has no horns of remorse. Shame on him, shame on this complex system he built that has now outgrown him. How do you shamelessly say that someone refused trial well knowing you control the judiciary and you already know the outcomes of the trial? Somebody who uses the name Supreme questioned the state's broader strategy. Why would you systemically deny him a bail on trumped-up charges, and why are we having political prisoners incarcerated? Save us your deceit rhetoric. Uganda would be better without you and your family, your threats. Dr. Paddy Kinyara suggested the president is isolated from reality. He says whoever is giving Mr. Kaguta Museveni wrong information is a bad character. Why isn't there strict laws by way of which individuals can be prosecuted for lying to the president? Can't Parliament think about such a law that would save Ugandans these blah 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 lies? Frustration and media censorship concerns are also there. Beyond the legal technicalities, the online discourse featured heightened levels of emotional frustration regarding systemic tyranny and heavy-handed media control. Aluso Mabiala reflected on the country's trajectory. The heartless dictator should remember the fruitful goodies and services they enjoyed for a very long time from Kizza Besigye. But it looks like senility has caught up with him. That's why his mental son, Moise Kengaba, is dictating things theoretically, total sadness for Uganda. Watelo Emmanuel pointed out a perceived decline in leadership quality. He said 10 years back, Museveni sounded like a reasonable man with integrity, but his narcissistic and God-complex behavior. Now, every time he speaks, actions and comedy like personality shows a man who has lost his charisma and cynicism taking course. Son is early onset cynicism. Sally Bobby De Bruyne called for unity against the long-standing administration. Museveni is a disgrace to our country. Uganda, imagine a Tutsi forever jailing and torturing native citizens of this country. Why don't we just wake up one day and say enough is enough? To the 82 years old deranged despot, his tyranny must be stopped by collective forces. Wow, the independence of Ugandan broadcasters also came under intense fire. A user named Angelique accused NBS of operating as a state puppet, while noting that independent alternatives face severe military suppression. Angelique said, Natasha TV, NBS TV, stop your propaganda. Who doesn't know you work for NRM military junta regime? You want to show international community that you are neutral media in UG. And in Uganda that was fairly neutral was closed on orders of CDF Moise Kengaba. And he copied it to BBC Africa, CNN, Al Jazeera, and so on. So it's just a long list that I have to just cut it here, and I have to say you can barely see good reaction to what the president spoke about. And for me personally, I think Museveni might have spoken, but there are a lot of signs that majority of the Ugandan population does not agree with him completely. It is clear, and people are too frustrated. People are angry. You can see Some people like saying that's social media. Social media is real life. You can't just say social media. You see? You can't say social media. Because people who are posting on social media, they are not animals posting from the jungle. There are people walking in the street, someone who has just paid tax and so on. So it's a reality of this country now. Thank you, and have a nice time.